Hello and welcome to another presentation as part of Engage 2021, where we're embracing transformation. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple things for you today. This presentation is going to be targeted toward talking about the value of business process automation, or BPA. We're going to talk a little bit about who I am so you can understand where I come from and what my background is. We're going to talk about why business process automation. We're going to talk a little bit about why now, as opposed to in the future or back in the past. We're going to go through a little bit of a case study of an example of best practices when working through some BPA. And we're going to talk through a little bit about the Amplify way at the end. So who I am. So I'm Casey Kolowinski. I'm a practice director here at Amplify. I have worked with the Wind Shuttle suite of products, Studio and Evolve, for a long time, about 8 years now. I've worked with many customers around their business processes, their different automation aspects, and I'm here to help you understand what BPA is, why we should use it, and help drive those business results, get you some clean data, and improve your operational efficiency. So why BPA? Basically, so one of the mantras we live by here at the Amplify team is if a company owns and uses SAP, they really need Studio and Evolve to help make their daily lives easier. Well, that's easily said, but what does it actually mean in practice? And why? Why do they need Studio and Evolve so much? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The concept of business process automation has been around a really long time. Everyone wants to have their business processes as efficient as possible so that their business runs effectively, right? Well, in our world, the key aspect is SAP. And SAP is a whole bunch of different business processes all put together, right? And your business is going to utilize different pieces of SAP for different aspects of your daily life. Well, that's all well and good. It works great. SAP is amazing. We all know that. However, is it the most effective and automated way to do things? No, we all know that it's not the most effective way to get things done fast, efficient, repetitively. So ultimately, we feel as a group and as people in this profession that the Studio and Evolve products are there and they're perfect for the SAP world, right? They're going to help you make those processes more efficient and add your BPA, your business process automation, to your daily life and make everything extremely smooth. So the need for BPA and why we actually have BPA in there is pretty straightforward, right? We all want the same thing. We're going to talk through a few of those things here more in detail. So on the left-hand side, we can see the main 6 bullet points that everyone's going to try to attach to their BPA concepts. We've got scalability. We want to be able to do our actions in a larger scale fashion so that we're not single-threaded with a single person or a single method. We want to build that scalability. We're always worried about ROI, right? We want to get the most out of our investments, and business process automation is key, right? It is key in that. It's going to always allow you to gain more ROI off of your software, regardless of the software, by speeding up your processes. Cost reduction. Everyone in their world wants that, obviously. Well, what's one of the major ways that we reduce costs? We reduce time to use or do something. And with business process automation, that's the key aspect, is let's make this repeatable and faster. Compliance and easy integration, right? Those are two things that we always talk about as let's make our data better. Compliance, right, is a big one where if the process is not automated, we're reliant on humans, and humans make errors all the time. And so our compliance suffers. BPA helps with that, right? It makes everything standardized, gets you through any audits or other compliance measures that you have to go through as a business, and gets it done in a way that's much more effective. Easy integration, right? That's another piece. Everyone wants everything to talk to each other nowadays, right? Well, this BPA it's designed specifically for that, so that you can talk not just with SAP, right? You know, we're specialized here in the Studio and Evolve product on SAP, but that isn't always what your business needs as a application. So ease of integration into other aspects of your business is a very important piece of the BPA puzzle as well. And we want to remove that repetition from our daily lives, right? We want to free up our users' time in order to spend doing more cost-effective things or more important things for the business than these repetitive actions that we can easily wrap a process around. Then the last three over there, user experience. Obviously, passing an Excel sheet around through emails or Word documents and other items that aren't really automated isn't the best user experience. So a BPA tool or a BPA process is really important to give your users a great experience, as well as the other things we've already talked about. And of course, when we build in some processes into our systems, we're going to get much improved overall processes and improved delivery. So that's going to basically allow us to do the actions we do on a daily basis, but much more efficient, effective, and at a much higher quality. So a couple of the ways that we do this with BPA are through our approach, through agility, and having the right attitude. So the approach, it's really important to take a step back and look and change the focus of how your processes are completed today. And by doing that, you're going to open up the possibilities of what you can do in the future. It's really important to take that moment to examine and self-evaluate your current processes and figure out how they can get better. A lot of that's done by being agile, right? Using different software tools or automating in different ways allows you that flexibility and adaptation that's so necessary with today's changing, ever-changing environment, right? So you as a business need to be open and agile to the concepts that there isn't necessarily one right answer. We need to work together as a group to come up with the best answer for your situation. And in doing so, we want to make sure that we have an amazing attitude working together and trying to buy that in throughout your entire business, because building those relationships and championing the BPA process is going to lead to higher productivity, cooperation, and speed of implementation, which all are going to help you achieve all the things on the left-hand side much quicker. So why now? That's a great question, right? Why all of a sudden is BPA everything that we talk about and hear about? So ultimately, organizations that are most successful in managing their data adopt an incremental approach to increasing scope and capabilities over time. And in this era of data and digital transformation, there really is no better time to embrace the power of your own data. So as we all know, data is becoming a giant currency in the world right now, more so than ever before. I think the stat was something like in the last 18 months, we've produced 3 times the data than we have in the entirety of the rest of our history, something along those lines. Data is key. So there's no better time to start getting your business processes automated and clean your data and get your data into a much better state than right now. Because we go from this, if we start now, right, we're going to start to empower your organization. We're going to start walking a little bit, right? And we're going to create that foundation of good data that's going to be ready to go for the rest of your days. It's going to be able to push forward to the next generation of workers that's going to be able to keep that data moving. Once we've built that foundation, right, it's all about enhancing, aligning, refining, evolving. We're going to work to start walking, right, as a group. We're going to take those processes that we've started and we're going to continue to make them even better every day, because there's always room for improvement. And then last, we're going to start to expand. We're going to take what you've talked about in your processes and we're going to start to run with them. We're going to go ahead and move those across horizontally through your environment, through your business, and try to take the lessons that we learn as we build these processes. And we're going to build a better process for your whole company, not just little bits and pieces. So next, I'll take you through a case study of a company that I worked with many years ago, who had the very beginnings of a process, but really didn't know what they were getting into with the idea of business process automation. They had a tool and they knew that it would do what they wanted it to do, but they weren't really sure how to get there because it was such a complex process. So I'll take you through a little bit of what the process looked like in working to get a more refined concept for them to help them with their situation. So their challenge at this global beverage company was that they had a really long cycle for new product introduction. Whatever the product may be, it was taking a really long time in the time span of like months to get something from concept out to grocery stores and out into the market. And they had manual procedures. They had Excel documents, Word documents, email chains, what have you, that worked, right? It worked, but it was not very well defined and could change on any given day because somebody forgets a step or wasn't paying attention to who they sent an email to, etc. So as a result, basically there was really low repeatability in the process, as well as poor visibility and reportability, because it's much more difficult to track down something that's going through your email chain or a document that's just stored out on the network somewhere. So these were kind of the main challenges that we were trying to solve for this customer through the use of a BPA tool. In this case, the Evolve product. So our solution was ultimately to break down their process into smaller, more digestible chunks that could all be run at once or standalone. So you could run portions of the process if that was all that was needed, or you run the whole thing all at once. We wanted to really take careful attention to their standardization, and we wanted to complete business buy-in in order to make sure we had full adoption of the process. So there was a whole lot of conversations to ensure that the business users that were going to be using the process were comfortable with the process. And in this case, we used a set of modular forms and workflows instead of one large form or workflow to help customize and make more specific the process for the uniqueness of this customer. So instead of having one giant form that can do everything, we talked about the smaller digestible chunks, and then that rolls down into more modular forms so that there are less items to be filled out or managed by a person at any given point. So the benefits that we talked about during this and worked on really hard for this customer was that we established highly repeatable, traceable, and efficient procedures. And in that, ultimately, by using the tool, we not only got them to a much more usable process, but we also were able to put that into a much more readable database structure so that it can be reported on and they can understand why, when, where certain processes may not be going right, or the ones that are going right, so they could tell what's going on in their business and have much more ability to be flexible and understanding of the factors that would potentially hold up and make their process slower. In doing so, we improved their time to market by over 60% in this one case. They were extremely happy with the concepts that we provided and loved the idea that everything was put into one easily digestible format. So they didn't have to worry about the Excel documents or the email chains or having to find these things. They were really happy to have this structure put in place at the end. And then in doing so, a framework was built so that they could basically add more processes into this with relative ease, instead of having to reinvent the wheel or try to rethink everything that's already been done. It was built so that future processes in other areas, such as getting labels built or getting products from one plant to another, instead of just the new product introduction, it allowed their business to easily bring in the next phase or additional phases down the line. And of course, as we talked about earlier, their users ended up very happy because they were able to use more of their time to work on some other less tedious tasks. Data entry, as we all know, is not a fun thing, and it takes a long time and a lot of effort to just concentrate on data entry. And ultimately, business process automation is still going to be data entry, but it gives you that skeleton behind the scenes to make it much more efficient and less error prone, as well as much less, what's the word? Much less susceptible to the pitfalls of a manual process. And so, just to kind of recap our approach in this situation, it was super important to take a look at the overall strategy of what they wanted to do as a larger business in order to tailor the smaller pieces of this process automation to help best set them up for future success. And then a huge emphasis was placed on making the entire process as flexible and modular as possible so that those future successes are easily obtained and added into the process as they move forward in the future. So why do I talk about this case study? I talk about this because it's a prime example of, and it's pretty generic, right? It's not specific to any one product or concept. It's the whole idea that business process automation is extremely important and highly valuable. And now is the perfect time to get into it because everyone wants this right now. Everyone wants to make those processes better. And so this is just a good example of the scale that we at Amplify and Comma are ready to implement, right? Ready to help you implement or talk about and strategize what works best for you. And so the Amplify way. So kind of a couple of things to touch on us, how we go about this with you through your journey, right? We make sure that you understand that software is only part of the solution. It doesn't deliver the results. It's more about you as the people and you as the business working to make the most effective process. And we understand that data strategies must change in order to do that. A lot of times, companies and organizations aren't thinking about their data in this way yet. And so it's important that we have these conversations to discuss your data and the best ways to go about managing that data. And we understand as well that this is potentially pretty disruptive to an organization. We know that change is hard, but it's all about the communication, reinforcement, and building those great relationships that allows you to build these processes and have acceptance throughout your organization. And we know that the focus must be on giving you great business value. And we do that by defining and executing key objectives and drivers. As you saw on the last slide, we had some very key things that we talked about and drove to deliver, right? And it's important to have those goals and things to strive for to make sure that we stay on track and obtain everything that we want to obtain. And also, if we keep those processes well defined and work together with great communication and a fantastic relationship, we're going to help build and realize that immediate value. And we're going to be able to do it incrementally, right? We don't need to go get the whole watermelon in one bite, right? Let's go build a process. Let's make something better in your area, and then we'll improve from there. So that's my entire talk. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this conversation about business process automation and the value of it in today's ever-changing market. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at Amplify or anyone at the Wind Shuttle team as well. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.